Welcome. My name is Tracy Cook, and this is a podcast series, Victim to Victory. Today, we have Sharon Caren on, and she is an absolute master. We're going to be talking about multidimensional quantum physics, and she's a spiritual and intuitive Akashic master, guide, and coach. She's had a near-death experience at the age of 27. And she's an awakening and deeply connected to the spiritual world and the advantages of working within it. Now, she is inspiring. She's going to be talking about the soul's deep purpose. She's going to be able to talk to you and connect with you on such a personal level about stepping into your personal power, discovering a path and more love-filled life. And don't we all need more of that, especially post-pandemic? She has got an enormous amount of spiritual wisdom. As you can tell, I'm so excited to get her on and tell her story as well, because she is a master in identifying blockages and releasing old energies using an intuitive approach to transformation. You're going to want to check her out, follow her, and see how she is changing and saving lives with her compassion, her support, her guidance. And her clients, they report a deeper conscious awareness and experience life at a higher level of being. Sharon, welcome to Victim to Victory.
Stacey, I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank you for the opportunity.
You are more than welcome. I mean, you're doing some amazing things. You are helping people, break free to find peace. You're all about love and unity. And you've also gone to the #1 international bestseller in 5 countries with your chapter, your book, where you talk about raising your frequency, change your life. So that is definitely a must read. Now, with your teachings, with your quantum physics, we're talking pre-show about multi-dimensions, breakthroughs, energies, chakras. There is a world that I want to uncover with you. I also want to know, where does your story start, Sharon?
Well, I've always, since I was born, I have been a mystic at heart. And, my whole life has basically been that way. When it started, it was a real rough go. My mother and father did nothing but fight, and I would hold my little sister in the corner and we would try to disappear. It was so traumatic. The trauma, we all go through it, and it can be very difficult. I didn't let it stop me, but it was very, very traumatic. And most people do have trauma in their lives. And that's why this work is so significant, because we actually find out who we truly are on the soul level. So we overcome those traumas. I was, raised that way. My dad finally left when I was 11, and I love my dad, but I was so grateful because finally there was peace. Finally, there wasn't the fighting and screaming. So we got to relax a little bit. And then, of course, this was in the 50s. So where women, this is a whole different story. In the 50s, women were nothing without a man. My brother my dad sent him to UCLA. Girls are supposed to be, barefoot and pregnant. Well, I could go barefoot. I didn't get pregnant. Probably good for me. From all that I've done, I wouldn't really have much time for it. I love children, but not this life. Anyway, so it was that victim mentality that I grew up with. My grandmother was beautiful, my mother was beautiful, but they didn't have any confidence, and they felt like they were nothing if they weren't with a man. So both of them were married 3 times and all of that stuff. And I knew in my heart at an early age that that wasn't what I was going to do or have. Somehow I was going to break free from the way it had been. I was So when I was about ready to do that, I got married young at 19, divorced at 24. And what my spiritual awakening was a spiritual slap, because I was upset. I was dating this guy and he walked in with somebody else. I got in the car, in my car should not have. And I ended up doing on the freeway across 4 lanes, spinning out and hitting the center divide. And I found myself up above the car when I was looking down at my body. And I'm like, and it was calm. So the worst thing that could happen is we can die. And you know what? It's not even scary. But anyway, I remember looking down at my body and all of a sudden, and I thought, well, I guess I'm out of here. And then all of a sudden I saw my in my body, my chest heaving, and I was pulled back into my body. And at that moment, I knew that I was alive for a really important reason. I never doubted it after that. Now I was in a body cast. I was in the hospital for 6 days, and they were trying to get my neck aligned. And the doctor said, if we can do this naturally, you'll be great, because I was young. I was 27. So anyway, he did that. I did that. I healed naturally, just like he said. It's almost like a storybook. It's like, how do these wonderful things happen? Well, they do. And they do when we have a purpose. So coming out of the female, victim role, in my family, and at that time when I was alive, I never took another breath. I wake up in the morning and take a breath, and grateful that I did, and grateful that I'm here to tell you about it.
Oh, what a fantastic journey, and what a inspirational journey to be able to recognize and come back. And it's almost like a rebirth, is it? Like to take that energy and come back like a rebirth?
I was never the same after that. All the things I was afraid of, we don't need fear. Fear is not going to give us anything that we would love. And that's what people are suffering. And you know what? Suffering's not required. Suffering is not required. We really, that's why I love to tell the rest of the story. Then later on in my life, of course, is when I found my work and when I was learning everything. So yeah, it just kind of keeps unfolding.
That is just absolutely amazing. So you've gone through this rebirth, this energy, this healing. You are walking, you're living your life again. Is this kind of like in your late 20s by now? Your mid to late 20s?
Well, that was when I was 27. And so then by the time I was 28 or whatever, I started working for the airlines. I traveled the world. I mean, you name it. And I was ready to go do it, because before that, I didn't do anything. I was afraid, because that's what I was taught when I was little. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you might die. And then after my experience, I thought, it's not terrible. So why don't I live my life to the fullest? Yes. I traveled the world. I've been to Australia. I loved it. I started running and doing everything that I never did before, skiing, all of these things. And, life just keeps getting better and better and better.
I absolutely love how you've really embraced it and done the running and the skiing and all of that. And you've really connected with your spirituality in that life-defining moment. And talk us through about how spirituality has really not only in that moment but impacted, and how did you learn more about spirituality that led you in to becoming the healer that you are today? Because you do have a Facebook group for healing from trauma support group as well, so obviously you've gone on and transitioned and learned all these skills and resources and all this divine things to help us connect with our soul and our soul goal and to break free into peace. And you're helping change and save so many lives, and you're writing, chapters in books about this. And talk us through about how you discovered that path and learnt all about spirituality and taking that intuitive approach to help others.
What was so interesting is that I started learning everything I could get my hands on, because it was healer, heal thyself. And I knew that I had healing, from the trauma, from the broken neck, my body. I learned stretching, and I learned healthy eating. And I just wanted to keep my body alive. I was like, that was my goal. So I really did embrace and get into everything that I could possibly find early on, back in the 70s with Wayne Dyer and all of that, all of that. And so I learned all that I could. However, it didn't come together. I couldn't connect the dots. Mm-hmm. Even though I knew it was important, I knew I was going on the right track, but to find that way, I didn't find it till about 24 years ago, where my mother was dying. And she actually died. I was in Kauai, and she died before I got home. But when I got home, I felt her really heavy in my space, and I knew something was wrong. And so I called my friend. I was supposed to have my first Akashic reading, before, but then my husband and I went to Kauai. We came back, and then my mother passed. I wanted to be with her. I was so upset. My mother has brought me gifts from the non-physical, and she brought the gift that day when I could feel her. She was what's called earthbound, and she was stuck in between. And so right away, when I knew something was wrong, I called my friend, my colleague who's going to do my reading. I said, something's wrong. My mother, I feel her in my space. What can we do? She goes, I'll do your reading right away. Everything she told me in the reading and clearing. Well, first, my mother was earthbound. So we got to call in the third order escort to escort her to the astral plane justly earned, which was my gift to her. But her gift to me was, we choose when we come in and we choose when we go out. She didn't want anybody, me, my sister, my niece, she didn't want any of us there. So she waited till we were gone.
Oh,
and then she
felt that then. Oh, Sharon, I so felt that then. Oh my, that is so powerful.
And, she still gives me those gifts, because and we listen with our still small voice. So when we get quiet, we learn how to get quiet, then we can hear, because we've come in with everything that we've needed. Only sometimes we forget. And so I had the gift of the Akashic, my first Akashic reading. Right away, I said, where do I sign up? I've never looked back. I wouldn't probably be married to my husband today if I hadn't done this work. Nothing would be like it is today if I hadn't found that. And it's because it's a system. See, before, everything seemed disconnected. Before everything, there was this and that and chakras, and I couldn't ground. And they said, send a grounding cord down. I'm going, I must be grounding cord deficient because I can't do this. And every time I would ask a question, they would keep saying the same thing over again. I knew that there was more. And as soon as I found the Akashic work, it was all wrapped up in this beautiful little bow with all the answers. And that's what I can share with you. That's what I can share with people, how it really came together for me. And I just feel so happy and grateful and blessed.
Now, I'm only just finding out about what Akashic is. Can you explain to us what it is in essence?
Yes. First, I want to say, so the word Akashic is a Sanskrit word for Akasha in Sanskrit. And so what it means is just like heaven above, or it's like the ethers. It's like in the clouds. That's what Akasha means. But back in the Old Testament, there it was Abraham and the Israelites, and that was that part in the Bible, in the Old Testament. And see, all of this comes from there. So it's not different. It's all in the Akashic field, which is the other dimension. So remember I said you and I are going to have one foot in the other dimension, because how do we speak about that? Well, this system of this Akashic reading and clearing work that I've learned and I teach is because it puts everything connected, everything is one, and it's quantum physics in the other dimension, in the Akashic field. And that's what I do is I open up your Akashic records. And then basically what I do is just report what your soul wants you to know right now. And that's what I do for everyone. And so what comes out, and it's not like you don't already know. When I'm talking to you about who you are, you know who you are, but we don't have language to speak about it. And so in this system, in the other dimensions and all of that, quantum physics, we learn the language, because our mental body, our brain needs a language and ways to speak about the other dimension. So that's what I do, is try just connect the dots for people. And it makes sense. I mean, everybody always says, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Anytime something is too confusing, excuse me, anytime when I hear somebody talking or I'm listening or whatever, if I can't understand it and it's confusing, you know what I know? It's not true. And when something is simple, and even if you don't know about it, but you listen, you'll know if it's true. I that has never gotten past me. I just know when it's simple, and we may not have ever heard it before, but it's not confusing. Any confusion is dark energy, and that's not of the light. So that's why it's so important for people to understand, to trust them. We have to trust ourselves, and then we know, we can work with this information, because it's not confusing. It's pretty straightforward and simple.
And are they blockages as well, have you found? So if we're confusing, you said it's a dark energy, but is kind of blockages similar to that, or is that something different?
Well, blockages can be, because there's dark energy that sometimes we could take on in this lifetime, because number one, if we don't know any better, or we've been compromised in some way. That's why we're supposed to, when we come in, we've got light around us. But if something happens, like in a family or whatever, maybe they're not of the light and they need this baby's energy, they will take the energy if the force field isn't up around us. So that's the other thing. Sometimes people tell me, I have tried everything. I have tried everything and I can't change this. And it's like, Well, because you probably need your force field back up, and we need to clear away all that's hanging on to you that doesn't belong to you. So, in other words, when our soul sparks, so it's like rebirth. And that when someone has a reading and clearing and gets rid of this energy that doesn't belong to them, then and gets the force field up around them that they're supposed to have, then there's our soul actually then is just like it was when it first sparked in the other dimension.
Oh, wow. This is so fascinating. And yes, it makes sense when you explain it like that. It's amazing.
Yes, and so it's just the rest of the story. I love to share the rest of the story because I
Mm.
believe that's why people are suffering, because they think that there's nothing more, or
Mm.
they think that there's something wrong here. There's not. Earth isn't for sissies. Earth is the hard place, and we sign up for it. We're not here for nothing. We're here for that. Why would we want to do that? Because we want to transform and evolve and become enlightened. That's why we're here, not for sissies, hard place. And we can still be all that we can be. In other words, when we start connecting our physical human beingness with our soul, the power is exponential, and we can do anything that we would love, and we can have anything that we would love. It's right there for us when we can let go of the anxiety or the suffering, or the fear. That's old stuff. That's the subconscious mind. That's the mental body, and that's the ego. And we've got to let the ego, love the ego and let it go, and not rule our lives.
How
The power
cleansing.
is here now for us always.
That is
And the
just so
chakras, of course,
beautiful.
give us more life. So the chakras, give us more life. So that's how all of this is actually connected. Spirit body to the physical body, and the physical body then takes that energy from the chakras, from the spirit body, and that is what makes up our nervous system. So we don't want to be in fight or flight. If we're in fight or flight, we have little to no energy coming into our chakras, you see. And then the physical body can't live with ease, so we create disease. And we don't have to do that. I'm here to share that with you.
I am just taking this all in, and I know that our audience in Victim to Victory, a lot have suffered, trauma and major obstacles in their lives that listen to this podcast. This is a message to the audience. Please connect with Sharon, because her spirituality, her journey that she has taken from looking at herself from above down into that car and rebirthing herself and going on such a mission, an intuitive mission to learn all about this, to bring this to you. If any of what Sharon has spoken about today, from her story through her vulnerability to the lived experiences that she has, if this resonates with you, if you are doing the same thing and not getting results and not stepping into that better version of yourself, and you're feeling like something's stopping you, and like Sharon touched on, people come to her, her clients come to her and say, I've tried everything. If you're sitting in that space at the moment, please connect with Sharon. Maybe just have a chat, or, go to her website and download the chakra guide as well. We'll share out the links where to connect with her, because when you're multidimensional, like Sharon has said, there is just such a world of healing. There is such a world for you to live your best life, full of love and abundance, and literally claim what you're entitled to in this living world. And to go forward to break free to peace and love and unity, and to just be your true, authentic, real self and fill out your soul's goal, your soul's mission. What Sharon brings to you today is invaluable. For some that are listening, you may not already have reached the path or open or just even ready, and that's okay. But when you're ready to move forward, Sharon's words will be like a light bulb moment going off for you. So I urge you to reach out to her and have a chat, because you must live your best personal life, reclaim your personal power, remove those blockages, which you can do. And we're all a work in progress. It's never going to stop. We're always going to be a work in progress. But identifying those blockages, release those old energies, and use the intuitive approach to your transformation. Because Sharon believes in you. She has lived the experience. She is a testimony to the spiritual path that sees transformations genuinely happen, authentically and organically happen in the best possible safe space that you could ever be on. And that is a legacy to break those generational chains. Legacy isn't leaving millions of dollars to your kids. Legacy is breaking those generational chains to pass down to future generations, so that they don't keep coming back and living those experiences until somebody stands up and learns the lesson to break those generational chains. Would you agree with that kind of thing, Sharon?
Absolutely. And you've said it so beautifully. Yes. We're luminous light beings, powerful beyond measure. I want everyone to start saying that. I want you to say it. I say it. I have all my clients and anybody I talk to. Remember who you are. You're a luminous light being, powerful beyond measure. There's nothing that's more powerful than you are. So we have to believe it and say it and step into it. And it's not scary. It's awesome.
Oh, I absolutely love what you shared with us today. And what kind of message would you like to leave the audience on today?
Well, I would love, this is a mantra that I made up early on, because the reason I broke my neck was because I couldn't ground. So I have a mantra. It's called breathe, ground, and remember. And so we do that by breathing in through the nose, out slowly like you're blowing through a straw. And that's the sacred breath. The sacred breath's coming into our lungs, into our body. Then we want to send that sacred breath all the way from the tailbone, all the way down our thighs, past the knees, into the ankles and the bottom of the feet. And you can wiggle your toes and you might feel tingling. And I practice that because I love that. It's so important to ground to the earth. So we're grounded, we're safe, we can't float away. We're here with gravity, and Gaia, the Mother Earth, is keeping us safe. So you don't have to worry. We're already safe. And then the last part, remember. Remember who you are. You're always that. Remember that all you have to do, if you're feeling anxious or anything that you feel that feels constrictive, we want to let that go. We do that with the breathe, ground, and remember. And that's that grounding to the earth and knowing I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe.
I absolutely love that. And I can't wait to get a t-shirt with Earth is for Sissies written on it as well. So I love that. I can see myself using that phrase over and over as well.
People say, no, I wouldn't have signed up for that. It's like, oh, yes, we did.
Thank you so much for being brave to share your story and helping communities and to really enlighten us with your spiritual path that is helping so many other people as well. We'll be sharing where to connect with you. Don't forget to head to Sharon's website on the links we'll be dropping to download the chakra guide. And you can find the Victim to Victory podcast on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you got value from today, and I know that you did, if this makes sense or you're wanting to know more, then please subscribe and check out also the Brand Your Story podcast creator course in our notes. Thank you very much, Sharon, for being a guest today on Victim to Victory.
Tracy, it's just been my pleasure. Thank you so much. I love you.
You're more than welcome. I so appreciate you. And I'll leave you with these words of wear your story like a superhero cape and not an anchor, because change starts with your story. See you on the next episode.